Hi folks, Corey Minton here from the Big Data Beard team, and as you can tell, you're in for something a little bit different. The team came out to Tahoe, California for a little bit of fun, but also to learn how big data is impacting cool industries like skiing for your benefit. Join us as we talk to RJ and Tom, two innovators in this space using data analytics to make the experience of visiting Squaw Valley Resort even better. Enjoy the show. All right, so we're officially recording, and we are at Squaw Valley, California, the beautiful Squaw Resort. This is Corey from the Big Data Beard team. I'm joined by Brett Roberts, and we have some special guests today as we've shifted our show towards talking about some real-life companies doing real-life things with data to really transform interesting industries. And Squaw Valley Resort, honestly, I don't know if it gets any cooler or more interesting than skiing and ski resorts. So I'm excited to have RJ, a technologist, leading VP of technology here at Squaw, and Tom, who's the VP of marketing. And appreciate you having us come out with us, boys. How's everybody going today?
Thanks, Corey. Doing really well.
Yeah?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
So we're interesting recording spot. We're actually on the Funatel? How do you say it?
Funatel, that's right.
Funatel. All right. Where's that come from, Funatel? What's that mean?
Funicular?
Funicular, okay. Gotcha. Very cool. So as we go up the mountain, I wanted to do just a quick level setting on Squaw Valley. It's a beautiful place. Been here a long time, has some great history. Tell us a little bit about Squaw and how it got started.
So we're at Squaw Valley in Northern California, right on the edge almost of Lake Tahoe. And the notable thing about Squaw Valley, especially in this year, is the home of the 1960 Winter Olympics. And you see that throughout the resort. So you see rings, here and there. And, we're exceptionally, we're really proud of that heritage here. Beyond that, Squaw has been, one of the most iconic resorts, certainly in California. And I think remains so with, a tremendous number of different athletes and Olympians that have come out of this place. So it's been great. And then, part of, the new history of Squaw, I guess, is, we actually combined with Alpine Meadows, which is an adjacent resort in 2011, and are in the process of trying to link those two together through a gondola that will, run between the two. It's, incredibly expanding the terrain offering here. So it's going to be great. So we're pretty excited about that. And then, and even more recent news is we've actually then combined with a whole new company that has resorts in Southern California, Colorado, the New England areas, and Colorado. So it's a pretty exciting time with Squaw Valley and Alpine Meadows.
So scale is actually interesting. So corporate scale is great. It's going to bring a lot more power and probably more interest in digital transformation. That's cool. So the Olympic history, we saw the rings down at the bottom. That's super cool. Is there aspirations for the company and for this mountain for future Olympic bids?
Well, there actually is a bid ongoing or starting. Can I say that, Lisa?
For your ears only.
Oh, there you go. You heard it here first.
Honestly, it would be great. I think it would be something that wouldn't just be centered here like it had been in the past, but we'd be a happy participant. And I think it would be really an incredible event for, the region as a whole. So that'd be exciting.
So VP of Marketing and Sales, I'm guessing one of your roles, and as we talked before, really excited about customer experience and making sure that that people know this is an incredible resort to be part of. Tell us a little bit about this move towards technology and specifically around the app and why that's so important and why your location drives so much of that.
Well, guest experience is something that, me and my team think about every day. And specific to, we're lucky in that we're pretty proximate to Silicon Valley, San Francisco, where so much of, the leading technology that comes out, is being built, right? Yeah. So for us, it gives us, I think, better maybe, I don't know if it gives us a better ability to get it, but I think we know more about what's happening because we just get exposed to it so much more frequently out here. And, that's really translated into our strategy around our mobile app, which, we've always understood that there's going to be more to skiing than just the actual skiing. So what we've looked at is how do you take and use technology to make that user experience, that much better? How do you do make that experience better before they get to the resort, while they're at the resort, and when they leave the resort. And so what we've really tried to do is use our app as a way to accomplish that. So for instance, just to give you some examples, right? On your way up, you can understand what lifts are opening, what things are happening, what wait lines look like. We'll notify you via an app push if there's delays on, roads that are coming into the resort. You can start, really planning your day. So we're trying to create a good experience on the front end, right? Within the time when you're at the resort. So we have functionality where you can build groups with your friends so you can see where your friends are along the mountain, which look, if anyone that's skied for a bit, there's always like, hey, look, I'm going to meet you at KT. And then half the group are at the top of the KT, the other half are at the bottom of the KT. And they're like, where did we decide to meet, Always happens every time. So we really wanted to create a way for people to more effectively be able to ski with the group and then also really participate with each other's ski days, right? So, you see how many runs your group skied, you see how many vertical feet, you see where they skied. And so it creates this more of an interaction with the group where it's like, man, that was a great day. And you get to actually relive it and, and actually like go back and understand it. So, we've tried to kind of take that through. And then at the end of the day, when you're leaving, just a reminder, thanks for visiting, really try. And then we'll talk to RJ about this a little bit more, is how does this all play into commerce, where then you're giving people the ability to have, a better product, better design for them at a cheaper rate, and really being able to target the right people. So our view is technology is through and through a guest experience. We want it to complement our physical experience here, and that's what our goals are.
Yeah, and we saw that today. We were lucky enough to be able to hit the slopes earlier, get some runs in this morning, and we all downloaded the app and we created a group. And there's 4 of us here. One of us had a call he had to take, so we had to figure out, well, how do we make sure we know where we're going? Is it the top of the mountain, the bottom? And the app did that very simply. We got it together. We were able to. I don't think we had any downtime at all waiting for one person, and we were able to get back together and hit the slopes again. So completely see that. And then the other thing too is we do have a little friendly competition. Who can go the fastest? Corey's winning right now. I'm a little disappointed about that, but we'll see what happens later on. But yeah, no, to your point, it really is giving that experience, the end to end, from when you get here to when you leave, so that you really do have the optimal time when you're on the mountain. And I think it's awesome.
Another point there is it creates these memories and incarnations with your family. Like if you come up with, two children and your wife, all of a sudden you can relive your day based on, these incarnations that you've created on the mountain through technology, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah. So one thing I always find interesting, so the app is brilliant for the user experience. That's awesome, right? We experienced it great. The flip side of it is, though, too, that there's an enterprise needs to have a return on investment. Like, hey, we're making this app not just for user experience so that we have the best, we increase sales. Obviously, we attributed some of it to it, but like, how are you very specifically connecting business outcomes to the app? And then are you able to do new things based on what you're learning about your customers and their usage of your brilliant facility? Is there something that you're learning about them that's changing the way that you do business today?
Well, one way to think about that is, and we're just getting into being able to take all this data that's being accumulated and start using it, really putting some business theories against it to see where they shake out. And, so an example of that would be, we're grabbing where everyone's skiing, right? So we know how many blues runs or intermediate runs you ski. We know how many beginner runs you ski. We know how many advanced runs you skied. So down the line, what we would like to be able to do is say, when someone's really skiing blues or intermediate runs, but are starting to dabble a little bit in advanced run, the perfect person to provide, a discounted opportunity for a ski lesson to kind of get them to that next level. So that'd be one example. From a mountain safety perspective is heat mapping where our points of compression are with skiers, right? And understanding flow around the mountain and actually indicating to people where, a better route down might be. So almost building itineraries for them based on their past experience and what runs they like to build. So there's with the amount of data that we're collecting, there's just a myriad of things that we can be doing right now. And we're going to hopefully start kind of knocking them off one by one.
You keep stealing all my thunder, my key words, Tom. I had cross and upsell capabilities.
How you enable it. It's, the
guest segmentation, product recommendation engine. All right.
We'll get there. So I see, like, obviously, good user experience. You want to use it in the future. What are some of the challenges for marketing? Has your team had to change, like, the makeup of the team, the kinds of people that you're going out and having to bring into the organization?
When I took the role as kind of head arm waver of marketing at Squaw, I was blessed with and this is honest to God, genuine truth. It just a very, very technology savvy team and very bright. And so the great news is, and again, I think some of that has to do with where we're located. I mean, you just have people who are kind of in tune with kind of the cutting edge of technology and what's happening as much as you can be at a ski resort, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that, and I've seen a lot of different marketing through a lot of different ski resorts, and I absolutely believe that we are just at the very tip of the spear on this stuff. So, over the years, we've really made a transition from more of a traditional marketing perspective to a more of a digital technology based. And it's been an ongoing process. And it's one I think that's going to continue. But honestly, the team that I've had has just been absolutely the right team for this transition.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so you've pushed some updates to the app. You've added some new features, new functionalities, some new things, I think as recent as last September. What's next? What are some of the new things that you're looking at adding? How do you prioritize it? What you add in? How do you kind of justify the business results for that? And then what's the feedback that you've been getting from the users?
Well, we have a pretty, and RJ, jump in here if you want, a pretty robust roadmap. And, one of the things we just launched was our leaderboard, which was, our short-term, near-term target for our roadmap, which was, if you opt into it and you skier on the mountain, you see how you stack up against other skiers on the mountain on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and season to date in vertical feet, lift skied, and so forth. And, and the purpose of that was, again, just to create this, kind of immersive feeling when you're dealing with technology and skiing here. And the feedback on that has been, it's been funny because all of a sudden we're getting emails from people who are like, it didn't record all my runs.
New customer service problem.
Right? And so, we take all of that very seriously. So right now we're in the process of, okay, let's investigate this person's feedback, where we may have missed something. And so we're constantly in a development cycle on this, right? My hope is going forward that we're able to, quite honestly, make purchase easier as it relates to lift tickets for people. And then, from a financial, fiduciary responsibility side, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And then from a perspective of our on-hill guests, really the next kind of, area I think that we're going to focus on is how do you get, I spoke a little bit about, if you're skiing blues and you're starting to dabble in blacks, like perfect person to introduce to a ski lesson. How do you bring that in? Because the better somebody gets at skiing, the more avid they become, the more loyal they become to resorts. The next real step is how do you bring in the ski lesson, ski school component of it and do it in an easy way where you take out all the pain points of going down, going to a ticket window, meeting at a certain spot where you don't know necessarily where it is, and make it super seamless. Almost like if you're just, waiting for an Uber car, you push a button, you see it coming, it shows up, you go.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, those are one of the areas that we're really focused on next of, how can we be impactful to this guest experience?
Yeah. So out of curiosity, you've got an ecosystem of businesses around here, right? With the restaurants and different kind of places. How are you using the technology, using the advancements that you start to understand user experience? How are you using that to drive activity or help, kind of help people find the best, not experience just on the mountain, but, in the village?
That's a good question. And, right now, obviously, we have just your map where you can figure out where you are. It shows you as you're walking through the village. You can always tell. We're using beacon technology to, when you're proximate to a certain specific F&B outlet, here's a 10% discount if you want to have on apps and so forth. So trying to make it a little bit easier. Yeah. And so, really our focus has been primarily kind of up mountain and doing that, but we're starting to now dabble more into how do you provide people with, their understanding of choices, understanding where they're traveling, give them an incentive to go in, but then reward them for doing that, right? Because it's always, your best situation is one where everybody wins. I win by getting them in there, they win by getting a discount, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, that's excellent. So obviously we're here with RJ. So you got a business partner in technology. So what's it like when you have this vision for transforming the business, transforming how marketing and sales works and customer experience work? Like, what's that relationship look like with IT? How crucial is IT to your success?
I mean, RJ uses Apple IIe still, so it's been just kidding. I'm just kidding. Couldn't be farther from the truth. Actually, I mean, I've felt like what we've been doing, it's been incredibly important to foster just a partnership, if you will, of peers on all of this because, marketing with me, in marketing with me and my team, we can have the greatest ideas on the planet. I mean, I have a 10-year-old son. He has the greatest ideas on the planet. But he can't implement any of them. Yeah. So what I've found is when you really combine your resources with IT in our world, it takes an idea from more than an idea, but actually makes it executable and actually, allows you to achieve that. And so we've really tried to work together, shoulder to shoulder, peer to peer on this thing. That's
awesome. So out of curiosity for you, RJ, so this is obviously some big goals, some big visions for a ski resort, which is so fun that there's this much activity going on. What's it like for you? What are the big things on your plate as you kind of look out into 2018? What's it look like to support some of these initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, it's vast and broad and deep.
Fun, hopefully.
Yeah. No, it's totally fun, right?
Yeah.
And we leverage our partnerships to their full extent and capabilities. The experts, whether it's in data lakes or federated identity, leverage those relationships and technologies and build those in to meet the marketing vision around guest engagement, gamification, segmentation, cross-upsell, predictive analytics, that advance the guest experience. So it is quite fun, and we got a little bit of a blank slate on several areas that gives us the opportunity to not only implement new technologies, but also R&D, up-and-coming technologies, and having a partner like Tom and the marketing team to allow us to pilot technologies in contained groups is very beneficial. And the understanding of a build, deploy, learn mentality, an agile sort of factor is super great. A lot of ski resorts are stuck into a more legacy operating mode. Squaw Valley's not in that mode. And we have a CEO who's very supportive of us as well from the innovation factor. So it's support all around from the business because operations actually has to consume these technologies as well and support them and interface with the guest. So it's quite the ecosystem here of marketing, operations, IT, to make it actually successful, and finance. Finance is always an component.
Somebody's got to pay for it, right? Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things you touched on, we've talked a lot about the app, and I'm curious over the last 2 to 3 years as you've started to move towards this sort of mobile user experience based sort of model for changing how the resort operates. What's that look like for you when you talk about new technologies and shifting from, the legacy, just transactional stuff to this more predictive, right? Experiential gamification, if you'll say. What's that been like for you? Like when you say new tools or new technology, what are some of the top new tools and tech that you've looked at over the last couple of years that have been transformative here?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly cloud, right?
Yeah.
And there's been some challenges in the ski resort industry over time just based on their locations to high broadband connectivity. We're fortunate enough here in Squaw Valley and Alpine Meadows to have access to that. So leveraging the cloud for additional data and compute resources is key. And transactional processing is another thing that's a challenge here based on connectivity. So we're looking at technologies to streamline that too, with offline capabilities and whatnot. But to your point about some of the technologies we've entered, within the last 2 years. So Amazon's been a big piece of our infrastructure. We use, everything from Amazon Redshift to the RDS infrastructure to the EC2 to S3 to the DNS services. So we're constantly to Beanstalk. We use, Beanstalk for configuration. We use, there's just a bunch of items that we're using. We also are agnostic in the technology stack. So from a federated identity perspective, we're looking at stuff like Microsoft Azure identity services, right? To meet some of these expectations around guest engagement and experience. It's not only about knowing the customer, it's also understanding how an unknown customer converts to a known customer.
Okay.
Right. So that's where federated identity comes in.
It's really interesting.
That's right. So, those are just a bit of some of the technologies, beacons and some IO2 stuff we have rolled out.
Yeah.
RFID is key to our lift access and fraud management. We've had that for, about 8 years. Okay. Provides for frictionless guest experience going through the gates. It also provides deep analytic capability on the back end for revenue management to fraud and predictive analysis on how many skiers we might forecast for the coming weekend based on, historic usage and weather and whatnot.
Yeah.
And now, back to the show.
So So continuing the conversation on IT and business, because one of the things that we see a lot of organizations struggle with is that IT, there's a lot of you can do things. And like in terms of the technology exists out there to do a lot of crazy cool stuff right now, and services like things that Amazon and Azure and Google are providing in the cloud, and people are doing in the open source ecosystem. It can power pretty much any vision or dream marketing might ever have. But part of the challenge we often see is that there's a skill gap between what IT can do and what marketing wants to execute on. And a lot of times people call that like data science or, the DevOps kind of community that's powering it. Have you guys, did you have to go out and build like a data science community? Have you had to hire data scientists, or has this been sort of an organic thing where you've used people within your own organization and kind of retrained, retooled, reskilled them to do more innovative things?
Right. It's the latter. And also the predecessor of what you said. So we're looking to scale the organization specifically around data. I mean, we live in the world of data, right? I mean, it's the data of things as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Right. So, but we like to keep all of our resources engaged. We like to build a culture and community within, IT and within the organization as a whole to allow people to be engaged and execute and train and provide growth, as any good organization should. So we do provide those tools to the team. We all wear multiple hats. To your point about DevOps and how that works, we work with the vendor as well as internally. I mean, I personally write code still occasionally, and my team laughs at me, but that's okay.
That's cool, man. I only have to ask, though, which language?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh. It's probably Fortran, if I had to guess.
So, to your point, it's kind of both. And we're trying to find that equilibrium to be successful because, as you mentioned, you can't meet every vision. But if we're collaborative and we work together and we're in alignment, which I'm fortunate to have a great relationship with Tom and his team, and we're open and communicative and collaborative, which is key. Silos just don't work, right? When we want to move fast and quick, we have short runways to implement, short runways to develop based on our seasonality. So we have a life cycle around there, no different than, the 2-week sprints sort of deal. So, that's kind of how we're rolling.
Yeah, so a lot of the folks that we talk to and that listen to this podcast are in that sort of space between a lot of them have been, even us, right? The guys that host and gals that kind of work on this team. A lot of us have been in IT for a long time, and we've kind of had to reskill. But we also have a lot of business users that are trying to figure out how to interface with IT. So I want to dig into like that communicative, collaborative thing you guys do together. Like, did that happen just because you guys were like buddies, or like was there some formal approach that you took to achieve that?
Well, I think, what RJ just said is, we've had to kind of build from the ground up, right? So it was absolutely crucial to involve IT early on in these various ideas because, as you said, you can have these crazy ideas and probably they couldn't happen. Everything's kind of allocating resources, right? So by having IT right in initially in what we're doing, you start getting the structure of how, we'll go about doing this, right? And it could be like, well, that idea is great. No, you're totally thinking about it wrong. What if we accomplished it this way? And so you have the iterative process taking place in the beginning with IT rather than at the end where you're just giving them like the grand reveal. But here's what we want to do. And they're like, dude, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, like for instance, we've collaborated on the guest journey and persona mapping, right? Like I think it helps to have IT involved in the business and have people in IT that are business savvy, so to say, right? And then part of the other collaboration is we'll provide frameworks so everybody knows about shadow IT in the world of the internet, right? Is that what it's called, or the World Wide Webs?
I think it's the Google machine, the internet of the internet
the
of
Googles?
Stuff.
Oh, the Googles.
Yeah, the Googles.
Right.
Just
The
put it to the
inner
Google box.
It's not the inner tubes.
No, it's not.
The
We do have inner tubes.
Yes.
And we do have disco.
Are they connected?
We measure your speed on that.
I bet I go faster than Brett.
That's right. But we try to set some parameters with them. So when I'm working with Tom's team or people on my team are collaborating with people on Tom's teams, it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. We're looking at a new multi-channel communication service that does text and phone and email. Well, okay, let's pull in IT to understand what kind of API access there is around data and data security and federation, or how it's going to feed into some other XML legacy-based services we have for, lift management or something like that. So And we're all here for the same reasons, to create something great. So I think it's a little easier than in maybe a more traditional environment.
Yeah. One of the things that's gotten really popular in the last, call it, year, in the data and kind of digital transformation space has been this topic of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Is there anything you guys are looking at, like when you look at machine learning or you look at artificial intelligence, is there any areas where you think, like we might be able to do something with that? Or are you doing anything today that we don't know about?
You want to go, Tom, or you?
Go for it.
I had a couple tidbits. So yeah, using AI and machine learning for predictive capabilities. You'd be surprised at how much it takes to forecast demand at the mountain here, based on all the variability and running those scenarios and models and looking for those expected outcomes. Right, that's one thing. Fraud is another. Fraud is an item in the industry that we want to tackle and get more heuristics around and understand that user flow and identify those and reduce, right? Because that affects our bottom line and revenue, and we have a short time frame to do that. So that's kind of a business capability right there. Another one is operational decision support, right? So based on demand, the ability to crunch this data around sales, labor, skiers on the mountain, what lifts are running, and the experience, and factor that in to say, hey, maybe we need to shift some more people to Gold Coast in food and beverage because there seems to be an aggregate of people there, right? So that real-time data stream that's coming in, and then disseminate it to our leaders on the mountain so they can make that information, right? And then obviously, I think where machine learning and AI can come in really handy is, cross and upsell and product recommendation engine, and converting the 3 to 4 time visitor into a season pass holder, and going from the intermediate to the advanced level of skiing to get those memories and incarnations and to create those family experiences that we all strive for. I mean, the snow's great right now and people should be coming up.
I agree.
I mean, the snow is awesome.
That's brilliant out here.
So I would add maybe something we're doing right now and working on right now is...
Well, we're not doing any of that right now?
well, we are. But, in the machine learning perspective is, understanding by device what people like to get their information through and when they like to get their information, right? Because really what you're trying to do is you're trying to serve them information on their preferred channel at the exact time that they want to receive it. So we've really been working a lot around how do we get there, and using machine learning with IBM and Watson and what have you to really facilitate that. And I think that's something that we're doing now as an example.
Okay, interesting.
Actually, that's one of a very value-added partners is the IBM Watson technology. And
really?
Marketing is really utilizing that. So
interesting. Okay, very cool. We've seen IBM and Watson, the APIs we see a lot of adoption of. The data science experience toolkit that they're coming out with and integrating with some of the partners looks very interesting for powering some of the things you're talking about. So you talked about beacons previously, and I want to unpack that a bit because we know that the apps and the phones have got GPS, and with GPS you can do a lot of interesting stuff. But it's interesting. We've played around with beacons, and I get asked this question a bunch from business users and IT practitioners, like, why do I need a beacon, or what is it? Why is that technology interesting in the IoT context? Since I already have GPS, like, why do I need that?
Well, GPS works great when you have full cell coverage in every nook and cranny across 6,000 acres and 2 mountains. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Here, we're working on building full wire, Wi-Fi mesh networks. We're working on with our telecom providers to pull up new towers and provide better coverage across every nook and cranny. But sometimes beacons work really good in certain areas. And it's just part of our mesh network and capabilities for communications that we want to entail. I mean, we have a wired network and a fiber network, a Wi-Fi network, a telecom network, and now a beacon network. So we want to be able to use it as necessary where we need to use it when we don't have every use case identified, but it's part of the overarching, architecture.
Yeah. So as you look out kind of in the next 12 to 24 months, we talked a little about machine learning and big data. Like, what are the things that you're most excited about in what you're going to be bringing to Squaw Valley and for the people who are visiting this mountain? What are you most excited about in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, if I could have one dream that wasn't me living in Tavarua surfing, it would be to have someone be able to just walk to the lift with their phone and never worry about a ticket or a pass. And that's the big target that I see out there that I've been pushing RJ out.
Yeah, I mean, mobile to lift would be amazing, right? I mean, obviously you're going to need some contingency planning for people that don't have phones. Or is there anybody?
I think there's some in Alabama where I'm from. I don't know if they make it out this far. We'll see.
We can make it a target market for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, having this frictionless experience on the resort and having our guests and operations and hosts know the guest and approaching them with the right questions or insights when we're engaging face-to-face. I mean, ideally, we want technology to augment the face-to-face expressions and personalization that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, it's people-to-people interactions that make skiing so great, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, RJ and Tom, this has been informative. This is exciting. We've obviously had a blast at your mountain and your resort. We've experienced firsthand the really cool things you're doing with this app to make the experience that much better, right? We're technologists. We showed up here. We wanted to have a great time, and I can tell you the work you're doing is absolutely having an impact. This is a very smooth, easy to enjoy experience, and I think the app made sure that we were able to find Keith exceptionally well and able to find pizza. So thank you for that. So I want to shift gears here for a second. We want to get to know you. We're in this amazing place, but we always ask our guests some rapid fire questions. And rapid fire questions are really just they're quick questions. Just answer the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you a question, but just give our listeners a chance to get to know a little bit more about you. So RJ, we'll start with you, and then you guys can just go back and forth. What year do you think Skynet will go online?
2021.
21. All right.
I think it's already online, and this is just a dream we're living in.
See, I think this guy's got it right here. All right. So, if you bought me a book, what would it be? Or maybe let's phrase it this way: what was your favorite book you've read in the last year?
Actually, the one I'm reading right now is called The Beautiful Constraint, and it's all about, how do you use constraints to actually push yourself past things that feel like hurdles and actually aren't. I'm reading that right now. It's actually really good.
Beautiful Constraint. All right. And you?
I got two answers for you. I'll get you the Squaw Wood book.
Okay. Ooh.
Okay. So that'll tell you.
Sounds
some
righteous.
Interesting items. And I'm actually reading a book by ThoughtWorks called Digital Transformation, Building an IT Agile Organization.
Okay. Very good.
Quite exciting.
What genre of music do you have in the earbuds when you're cruising down the mountain? Yeah, go for it.
I typically like the sound of nature, personally. Yeah. But if I was going to wear earbuds, I'd probably put like the Red Hot Chili Peppers in.
Strong.
Old school rap every time, all the time.
We were rocking NWA on the way up there to the mountain today, so we feel you on that one. So do you have a favorite piece of like technology that you think's really cool, but you also it's kind of like dumb and useless?
Well, I got to think about this. It was rapid fire, huh? Let's see. I'm trying to think of one here, really.
All technology is not cool. Let's just let me know.
Oh, BlackBerry. Oh, wait, I have to have you got to have one of those. I don't have one anymore.
It would help with your frictionless experience,
That's
right?
right.
I don't think they were NFC enabled.
That's right. I don't think so. It's a good question. I don't know. I recently got an Alexa at home, which is definitely extremely useful. Till my kids start overriding me, and then we get in this argument with Alexa, fighting, in the kitchen about what song we're going to play. So it becomes useless.
There you go. All right. So Amazon Echo.
That's right.
What's you? Any useless tech?
I wouldn't say useless, but I did just get this new Apple 3 watch, and it's created an ADD like I've never known before.
Well, I just want to make you feel better. That is literally the number one answer we've gotten of all guests. Like, that's overarching. The Apple Watch is a silly one. What is your biggest personal money pit right now?
Surfboards.
Surfboards, all right.
Surf trips.
Surf trips, all right. So you're into skiing and surfing when it's nice outside. Okay. Are you going anywhere? I mean, you guys work somewhere interesting, but are you going anywhere exceptionally interesting soon?
Actually, RJ and I are both going to Nicaragua in May, so yeah.
Sounds pretty awesome. All right, so we usually want to know what TV show you're currently binging on, but for this episode, I'm curious, what is your favorite ski-themed movie?
Well, Hot Dog, of course.
All right.
Sharknado.
I can officially say that's never been listed.
We got to do a quick Q&A with you guys too. Like one
Okay, lay it
question.
on
I got
us.
one. All right.
Lay it on us.
You got to recite your favorite movie quote.
The dude abides.
Is that the Big Lebowski?
Oh, yeah.
Anything from Pulp Fiction, probably.
Very good. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. I will say I highly encourage folks that are anywhere near Lake Tahoe to come out to Squaw Valley Resort, have one of the best experiences on a mountain I can imagine. And you guys are absolutely investing in what I think will be an amazing experience going forward. So thanks for spending time with us in this utterly beautiful location.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brett. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Beards are not just about big data. They're face warmers. And if you don't have a handsome hedge on your face, then you can keep warm on the mountain with a beard ski. You'll look like us and be properly warm. Visit beardski.com to get yours. And don't forget, you can still register for Strata San Jose and get 20% discount using promo code PCBeard at checkout. Thanks for listening and watching.